Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television. A reminder of our major stories. Gunmen kill 9 people in fresh attacks on Nandubok community in Danga local government area of Kaduna State as President Muhammadu Buhari condemns persistent attacks in the state. Borno State government sets up new internally displaced persons camp as teachers' village camp is overstretched by 300%. Independent National Electoral Commission INEC to resume collation of results of Tafa Balewa local government area of Bauchi State on Tuesday and release timelines for the completion of the process in River State on Wednesday. And deadly tropical storm kills at least 24 people in eastern Zimbabwe. ChannelsTV.com has more information for you, and go to youtube.com/channelsweb to see our videos. Watch us on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. And besides giving you access to news updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app has an Eyewitness feature, so use it to share those pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. And talking about pictures, here are some of them you sent into our Eyewitness portal today. Let's begin with this picture from Lagos State showing some school children playing close to this canal after a heavy downpour at an estate around the Ikeja local government area. Our Eyewitness reporter says the state government should build a barricade around the canal. And still in Lagos, some residents of Ikorodu North have staged a peaceful protest to the Ikeja Distribution Company head office in Alausa area of the state for shutting down the transformer in their area for over 3 months. The protesters want the Ikeja Disco to do something about it, and quickly too. Finally, this image from Salka Unna Road in Niger State. Our Eyewitness reporter is asking the state government to fix the road before it gets to an emergency situation. Thank you so much for sending those pictures, and we do look forward to receiving more from you. Concerns are growing on the need to amend the country's electoral laws, especially in the wake of inconclusive polls and violence recorded in the just concluded general elections. And as the 9th Assembly prepares for its inauguration, electoral amendment may just be one of the top things on the agenda, and our next report examines the urgency being placed on the demand for the amendment of the electoral laws.
The elections are over and political office holders are gradually settling into the realities of the outcome of the polls. They are also waiting patiently for May the 29th inauguration, which will usher in the presidency and the 9th Assembly. The conduct of the election and its outcome has again awoken the call for a review of the country's electoral laws and its amendment. One of the first set of persons laying credence to this national craving is the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, and he is asking the newly elected National Assembly lawmakers to take up the challenge of reviewing the electoral laws.
I want to appeal to the senators-elect to please start work early and conclude work on the electoral legal framework in good time, well ahead of the 2023 general elections.
The debate is not just starting. In fact, it gained prominence close to the elections, with civil society groups and some National Assembly members pushing for the president's assent, a move the president rejected through a letter to the lawmakers 4 times. The president, among other things, claims that changing the rules of the game close to the 2019 elections will confuse electoral officials and voters. He also claims that the timing for the demand for electronic voting system was too close to the election and not feasible, as many rural areas across the country do not have access to the internet. The president also cites drafting issues as another reason for not appending his signature on the electoral amendment bill. Pockets of electoral violence, declaration of inconclusive elections, outright suspension of polls in Rivers State are some of the disturbing activities that characterize the just concluded polls, making it obvious that something must be done urgently to avoid a repeat of this trend in the next 4 years.
Our system is not yet perfected. I did mean that we use electronic means to start transferring our result this year. There will be less manipulation. However, if the result could be collected as soon as possible, the latest by today, so that by tomorrow we know the winner and lessen the tension in the land, that would be helpful.
That buck obviously ends on the table of the 9th Assembly, as Nigerians hope the lawmakers will take the bull by the horn.
To look at the calls for electoral reforms in Nigeria, we're being joined on the news at 10 by a legal practitioner and senior advocate of Nigeria, Dr. Paul Ananaba. You're welcome to the news at 10.
Thank you.
Now, the 2019 general elections are not completely done and dusted. At least we still have a few states to complete that. And there are already calls for electoral reforms renting the air. So what does that tell you?
First, it shows that, thank you. First, it shows that the 2019 election has not been satisfactorily executed. And I appreciate the patience and the understanding of Nigerians to follow through the process. You would have seen that INEC has just said that even the intervention and the coming of armed personnel into the electoral process was not acceptable to it and all that. So it shows that there is need for reforms. And I would identify areas, I think, quickly, beyond what the INEC chairman has said that the 9th Assembly should, areas they should go to quickly. I expect that the already passed bill, Eyewitness, should be recalled so that the president doesn't proceed to sign that, and then we'll begin a fresh process. But it should be recalled, and we should ensure, the National Assembly working with the executive, because it's not just the National Assembly. If there's no political will, there will be no amendment. Now, there should be a regime for electronic voting with full biometrics, so that many issues of electoral violence and snatching of politics and all that will be away. Again, we should remove the regime of PVCs. We don't need that. What we need is national ID card with biometrics. You punch your ID card number, put your biometrics. It can be faulted, and then the voter votes. That way, we relieve all that. We should proceed to the point that if you have an election petition pending, you will not be sworn in to any office. So you don't use the paraphernalia of office to proceed to prosecute elections. Now, we should have a regime where the issue of inconclusiveness is totally minimized. The present law or electoral act where inconclusiveness is measured by the number of names on the voters register is not realistic and it's not right. Because even now, if you don't have a PVC, even if your name is on the register, you cannot vote. So that shouldn't count. And that's why you have 84 million people, and then you have seen only 30 million people voting. So all this should be taken into account, and we don't need to have staggered governorship elections. All governorship elections should now be harmonized by amendment of the Electoral Act. So these are things I think we should begin to look at quickly. And once we have been able to pluck them, we will proceed. And I believe that the appointment of the chairman of INEC should be removed from the executive entirely.
I know you mentioned something about
Yes.
a synergy between
Exactly.
the executive
Yeah,
and
the executive.
Some will argue, Dr.
Yes.
Anambra, if I may come in, some would argue that the 8th Assembly did amend some part of the Electoral Act, but it never saw the light of day because the President did not sign it. So do you think starting early, if the 9th Assembly decides to start early, and all would these issues
But if
be
there's no
addressed?
political will, it wouldn't work. It will keep going like a rainbow.
So the synergy issues.
So what in this instance, there should be national interest above party and individual interests.
Okay.
There should be a harmonization mechanism, so that before we even talk about sending the bill to the president would have been aware that this is what is coming. I agree with it. Bring it. I'll sign it. And we should have mock elections by the regime I'm proposing. It's in a situation that the electronic voting would have been run several times and improvements made on it. And not just very close to the election, now you start talking about electronic voting. And I've been confronted with questions when I raise these issues as to how will the illiterates and those in the rural areas come in? Do they not use telephones? The old women and men in the villages, they use telephones. So if we start early and customize it to their languages in their rural areas, it will work. And finally, I don't expect that we should not be using so much of ad hoc staff. Because most of these ad hoc staff and the university professors do not actually understand the practice of electioneering and voting and election process. Many of them didn't even are from different areas of study and interest. And are just sent there because they are professors and all that. We should move away from that. We should now harvest ICT experts in this country, with numerous of them, young men, outstanding ones, and then bring in a new team that will guarantee election that will be the envy of this country and our neighbors.
Dr. Paul Anambra, I guess that's a good way to end this discussion. Senior Advocate of Nigeria and legal practitioner, it was a pleasure having you with us on the News at 10. And still ahead on the News at 10, Nigeria's D Tigers draw European, South American and Asian opposition in Group B of the 2019 FIBA Basketball World Cup. That's on Sports News. Join us again.